So, the Netflix comedy Glow about the gorgeous ladies of wrestling has been picking up awards nominations left and right since it began. And I am here with Betty Gilpin, who plays hi, who plays Debbie Egan, aka Liberty Bell, on the show, who was nominated for her first Emmy last year and might just pick up another nomination this year too. I'm Kevin Jacobsen, writer at Gold Derby, where experts and fans like you can predict top awards like the Emmys. So, Betty, you were indeed nominated for your first Emmy last year, and you've been nominated at the Critics' Choice Awards, our very own Gold Derby Awards, and as part of your ensemble cast as at the SAG Awards. So, I guess my first question is, how do you think Debbie would have reacted to this level of acclaim?
Oh man. I mean, I think she'd probably turn into a monster. I think she would be like out on the town with Rob Lowe, like on the top of a building, just really living her life in like a sequined onesie, just screaming and forgetting that she told the babysitter she'd be home by 1.
Right. And so, you certainly haven't had this level of accolades in your career before Glow.
Certainly
So,
not.
so what have these past few years been like as far as being on the red carpet and being at such an esteemed event like the Emmys?
Gosh, it's funny to have I've been making my living as an actor for I guess like 13 years now, since I was 19. So to have this fun twist happen, it's so exciting, but it also feels like it feels. I'm so glad it didn't happen when I was 19, because I feel like I would be totally swept up in it and terrified and maybe become a monster. And now I feel like it's this fun, crazy pageant I get to go to, and I feel so grateful. But I also have things in mind like my dog and nuclear weapons, grounding things.
Right. Well, speaking of the Emmys, I wanted to talk about actually some of the stunt work on the show, which actually won an Emmy last year for the first season.
Yeah.
And going into season 2 of Glow, your character and the rest of the wrestlers go from amateurs to having their own TV show. And it really kind of mirrors what you guys probably went through as a cast, where a lot of you were amateurs at that kind of physical stunt work. And now with season 2, you have a good base of knowledge that I would imagine. So did
Yeah.
you feel that there was an increase in difficulty when it came to the stunt work in season 2?
There was definitely an increase in difficulty. Yes, Shauna Duggins became the first female stunt coordinator to win an Emmy ever. And she is basically our Grace Kelly, Mr. Miyagi, and is just, we're so lucky to work with her. We also work with Chavo Guerrero Jr., who's a pro wrestler and our wrestling sensei. So the two of them together, yeah, we really, season 1 started out with pretty rudimentary, forward rolls and a very safe body slam. And, we kind of went in with kid gloves and had a sort of like Montessori stepping through these moves experience. And by season 2, they were like, suplex her now, do it. We don't have time to talk about your feeling. Like it was much faster and more extreme, which was so much fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
As a theater nerd, I had never played a sport ever, so this is my first sport, and I now understand the appeal.
Yeah, and also I think Debbie in season 2, I think she could have gone in a number of different directions just as a character, and we ultimately see her become a producer of the Glow TV show. So, I mean, before the season started and as things were going along, how much input did you have into what direction to take your character in?
Well, Liz Flahaven and Carly Mensch, the creators of Glow, they had these ideas in their head long before season 1 even started, and I had said to them, what if there was a kind of 9 to 5 aspect for Debbie's storyline of her finding empowerment in work, and they're like, we're on it. We don't need your input. But yeah, they, I think that they so brilliantly write Debbie as, finding her power in wrestling and finding ways in which that bleeds into her finding her power in her professional life and in her personal life, and then ways in which she is still a complete mess. I feel like Debbie is so many different people inside her own head, and one of them is a powerful woman with a briefcase, and one of them is just a sobbing pile of mascara, and one of them is Liberty Bell. It's completely insane.
And Debbie's relationship with Ruth is certainly complex and
Yeah.
has some real baggage, but
Yeah.
it seemed like things had leveled out for a while until we get to the point where Ruth denies the network's president sexual advances,
Yeah.
and Debbie finds out, and she's not really there for her
No.
and tells her she should have had sex with him in order to save the show.
Yeah.
And ultimately, we see her in the ring with Ruth, and she intentionally hurts Ruth and breaks her ankle. And so, what do you think Debbie is thinking in that moment? And also, how did you react to that when you're reading that on the page?
Well, I don't think Debbie was like, you should have had sex with him. I think she says, you should have flirted your way out of it and kept the ball in the air, the flirty ball in the air, to make him think that there was a possibility to not, make a scene, which of course is also, I'm so disappointed in Debbie for saying that she should even do that. I mean, when I first read that scene, I was very disappointed and angry, and I didn't want to do that scene. I was, this is anti-feminist, and I'm upset. But I realized, we need to tell all sides of this story, and I think Debbie, it's a window into how strong Debbie's confidence is, but how low her self-worth is. And I think that her seeing that Ruth made that decision made her replay in her head moments where she didn't think that was an option to say no or walk out. Or, I think that Debbie's good at treating herself with respect in some ways, and then other ways she has so far to go. And so I think that that really stirred up anger and self-hatred, and then she just channeled it right at Ruth and lashed out. Did she intentionally break her ankle? Who hasn't broken an ankle by accident?
Exactly.
I think that she was in a Liberty Bell rage spiral, and Ruth's ankle happened to be in her hands.
Right. And some of Debbie's anger with that, I mean, do you think if this were maybe set in the present day as opposed to the 80s, that Debbie would have had a different reaction, or maybe it manifested in some other different way?
A different reaction in the ring, or a different reaction to Ruth?
Just the decision on Ruth's part to not, go along with the sexual advances.
Yeah. I mean, I certainly hope that Debbie would have a different reaction. And I think that, yeah, I really hope so. I mean, it's very interesting. They wrote this episode before the Me Too movement, before any of this was even public. And it just goes to show how long this has been going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the relationship between Debbie and Ruth, I think, is really the deepest relationship on the show. And you and Allison Brie really are working on an intimate level, not just emotionally, but physically, in terms of throwing each other around the ring. And so you've really been through a lot together. So have you ever had that kind of a bond with a fellow actor before?
I mean, the bonds that Allison and I have is pretty intense. I love her so much. And no, I've never had a connection like this, and the opportunity to play so many different levels with especially a female co-star. Usually it's the girl. We don't usually get scenes with each other as ladies this much, let alone to play on this many different levels. And I think that Ruth and Debbie, as much as they've been hurt by each other, they the show within the show, Glow, kind of offers the perfect excuse to be close to each other and be with each other, because they really know each other more than anyone else in this world. And I think they're both very lonely in different ways in their own lives, and uh, wish that they could turn to their best friend and say, here are the ways I'm hurting. And the heartbreaking thing is that the person that's hurting them most is each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And you also had a great episode this season with Kia Stevens, who plays Tammy, the welfare queen, where you explore being a working mother, the both of you. And so what was it like just working with Kia on that? And also, are there other members of the ensemble that you want to work more intimately with in the future?
Yeah. I mean, Kia Stevens, she is, I think she's unbelievable. She's really blowing up the myth that you need to, you know, I went to theater school where I rolled around on the floor and cried about my childhood and did Shakespeare monologues for 4 years for $10 billion. I was like, well, that's what you need to do to be an actor. And then Kia's like, oh, it's my first time acting, but I'll give it a go. And then blows us all out of the water. She's incredible. So yeah. And I love that episode so much because I feel like it's a real window into, I think these women feel safe within the show that they're making, Glow, with and try on these stronger identities in the show. How can I empower myself? What ways? How can I be a stronger person? And then you're also seeing kind of behind the curtain of their weaker, sadder, darker, messier moments that they probably don't want to be a part of the TV show about their lives. And I think that episode 4 is such a good uh, example of that, seeing ways in which they're superheroes and ways in which they are disappointed in themselves. I think particularly for Debbie.
Mm-hmm. And Debbie is a character that is kind of constantly exploring new territory where she's really figuring out who she is. She's negotiating her way into a producer spot. She's using her body in a way that she never really has before.
Yeah.
And so, have you also felt yourself kind of evolving alongside her just as a performer through this experience?
100%. I'm also realizing I forgot to answer part of your question about other members of the
Oh,
ensemble. I want to do like a version of episode 4 with every single person in the cast. Thinking about getting more intimate with these girls. If the brain is a house, we know each other's basement and attic and weird, like we couldn't get to know each other better. But I would love to act with every single one of them individually more. Yes, to answer this question, I feel a parallel track with Debbie's kind of empowerment journey. I definitely I have felt like my high school theater teacher told me that I was a good actor from the neck up, and from the neck down, I was scared Betty. And that was, as much as that hurt my feelings at 15, it was completely true and continued to be true for a long time, that I was just not in my body and very self-conscious and, kind of believed the business when it told me that my body's value was, to like pose and try and look small in the wide shot and audition for my next job. And using my body in this weird, crazy, borderline dangerous way in this job has, sort of been a training process for my brain of, okay, you've been telling yourself that your worth is this and it's not. And I've, been using my self head to toe in characters from now on. So let's hope that lasts.
hmm And I wanted to really briefly touch on the Good Twin episode as well, which was a real fan favorite episode of season 2, where we essentially see a broadcast of Glow, complete with little sketches and music videos and all sorts of fun stuff.
Yeah.
And so, what was it like to just be acting as your wrestling persona, Liberty Bell, the whole time, and just the whole experience of doing this little one-off episode?
It was off the rails wild. I mean, I have really spent a decade being told, like, okay, let's do it again and just take out this choice, and this choice, just make it smaller, keep it simpler. And to have an entire episode where we just kept getting bigger and bigger and wilder and weirder. We kept being like, someone's going to come, like we would do a take and be like, okay, they're going to come in and tell us that was insane and we're going to acting jail. And then they'd come in and be like, great, you know what? Ramp it up. Like, okay, we wanted season 3, right? But yeah, and Allie and I couldn't stop laughing at the scene where Zoya, or the twin, comes in, finds me in the shower. I mean, I ruined such amazing takes on her part because I was choking laughing. It was so much fun.
Yeah. So circling back to the Emmys real quick, I should note that you were the only cast member of Glow nominated at the Emmys last year. And I think
Yeah.
I and a lot of others might hope that increases a bit for season 2. And so, I mean, just are there other performances in season 2 that you maybe observed on set that you think are really worthy of that kind of Emmy consideration?
Yeah, Alison Brie, I think, should win all of the Emmys, all the awards that exist. Mark Maron. I mean, everyone. Just nominate everyone. Yeah. I mean, working with Allison, it feels like we're doing 10 different scenes at once and like holding each other's hand while shivving each other under the table. Like, it just feels like Ruth and Debbie. I could do this job with her forever.
Yeah. So how things kind of left off in season 2, the ladies are heading off to Vegas to do their show there. So it's another big transition point into a new season.
Yeah.
And I know you guys just wrapped up production on season 3. So is there anything at all you could tease about what we should expect, even just on like a broader thematic level?
Oh, I haven't been asked this question yet. I feel like even though I'm in Vancouver, I feel like anything I say, there's going to be like a neck dart that will Netflix neck dart. Will take me out. Yeah, we're in Vegas. Things are crazy. We're making the show, like, we're doing it as a floor show in Vegas. I think I'm allowed to say that. And I will say there is a person who joins our cast this year that will blow your mind. Yeah.
Intriguing. Yes. So, yeah, thank you so much, Betty, and break a leg at this year's Emmys.
Thank you so much.
And so for everyone else, please hit subscribe for more great award season interviews and go to goldderby.com and make some predictions of your own.